History does not begin with comfort. It begins with struggle. Somewhere in the frozen mountains of Central Asia, a 12-year-old boy stood with a crown on his head, but no stability beneath his feet. His name was Babur. Born Prince of Fergana, he inherited a throne at an age when most children are still learning how to survive the world. But power in Central Asia was never safe. Betrayals moved faster than loyalty. Allies changed overnight. And before he could understand kingship, he lost it. His throne was taken, his army scattered, his relatives turned into rivals. Babur was forced into exile. He wandered through mountains, slept under open skies, gathered only a handful of loyal men. But what he lost in territory, he gained in resilience. Defeat did not break him, it shaped him. He studied warfare, he mastered strategy, and most importantly, he learned patience. Then his eyes turned toward a land unlike any other, Hindustan. A land of wealth, fertile plains, thriving cities, but politically divided. In 1526, on the dusty plains of Panipat, destiny waited. On one side stood the powerful Sultan of Delhi, Ibrahim Lodi, with a massive army and war elephants. On the other side stood Babur, outnumbered but equipped with something revolutionary: gunpowder artillery. The cannons roared, the earth trembled, war elephants panicked, traditional formations collapsed. Within hours, the balance of power in North India shifted forever. Ibrahim Lodi fell, Delhi was taken, and with that victory, the Mughal Empire was born. Babur did not rule for long, but he planted a seed that would grow into one of the most magnificent empires the Indian subcontinent had ever seen. After him came instability, and then emerged a ruler who would define an era, Akbar. Unlike his grandfather, Akbar inherited not just a throne, but a fragile empire, surrounded by rivals, threatened by rebellions, and challenged by diversity. But Akbar possessed something rare in rulers: vision. He expanded the empire through both strength and diplomacy. He formed alliances with Rajput rulers. He welcomed scholars of different religions. He introduced policies of tolerance known as sul-e-kul, peace with all. His court became a center of culture, philosophy, and innovation. Under Akbar, the Mughal Empire was no longer just a conquering force. It became a governing power. Administration strengthened, trade flourished, art and architecture evolved. The empire reached stability. Then came his son, Jahangir. Jahangir ruled an empire already strong and focused on refinement. His reign saw the flourishing of miniature painting. Court culture matured. Justice became symbolic. Even legend speaks of a golden chain of justice outside his palace. But beside him stood a woman whose influence shaped politics itself, Nur Jahan. She was not merely a queen. She was a strategist, a political mind, a power behind the throne. For the first time in Mughal history, a woman's authority echoed through imperial decisions. Then came the era of magnificence, Shah Jahan. Under Shah Jahan, the Mughal Empire reached architectural brilliance: grand mosques, fortified cities, marble palaces. Luxury and power walked side by side. But beyond the throne, there was love. His beloved queen, Mumtaz Mahal, was not just his consort, she was his confidant. She traveled with him on campaigns. She stood beside him in governance until tragedy struck. During childbirth, Mumtaz Mahal passed away. and for the first time, the emperor who ruled millions could not command fate. Grief consumed him. The court fell silent. Music faded. Celebrations ended. From that grief rose something eternal. On the banks of the Yamuna River, white marble began to rise toward the sky. Symmetry, precision, perfection. The world would come to know it as Taj Mahal, a monument not of power, but of love, a structure where sorrow turned into beauty. Under Shah Jahan, the Mughal Empire stood at its peak, militarily strong.
Every empire has its rise, and then a trial. After Shah Jahan, the war for the throne began. Brother stood against brother. Swords were raised not only against enemies, but against blood. And then the throne was taken by Aurangzeb, a strict ruler, simple clothing, iron will, unshakable faith. To claim power, he defeated his own brothers, especially Dara Shikoh, a prince seen as a symbol of knowledge, tolerance, and Sufi thought. Dara's defeat was not just the fall of a prince, it was the closing of a softer chapter in Mughal history. Aurangzeb chose expansion. Armies marched south. The Deccan campaigns began. Years turned into months. Months turned into decades. Armies kept fighting. The treasury began to drain. Soldiers grew weary. Aurangzeb was devout. He wrote the Quran with his own hands. He lived simply. But the endless wars weakened the empire's foundations. A time came when the empire had expanded across geography, yet was hollow from within. 1707, Aurangzeb passed away, but after him the throne remained, the power did not. Weak rulers, internal conspiracies, provincial governors began declaring autonomy. The Marathas grew stronger. The Sikhs rose in rebellion. The Rajputs chose their own path. The empire began to fracture, slowly, silently. And during this decline, a new power was stepping onto the shores, the British East India Company. They came first as traders. They asked for permission. They built factories. Then they formed armies, and eventually they began making decisions. The Mughal emperors remained in name only. Real power was shifting into the company's hands. Then came 1857, a spark of rebellion. Soldiers revolted. Delhi echoed with the sound of revolution. For the last time, history called upon the Mughal name. On the throne sat an old poet, a fragile yet dignified emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar. He was not a general, he was not a conqueror, he was a poet with memories of a glorious empire still alive in his heart. The rebellion failed. Delhi was captured. The walls of the Red Fort fell silent, and Bahadur Shah Zafar was exiled. A king, once called the ruler of Hindustan, took his final breaths on foreign soil. It is said he wrote, "How unfortunate is Zafar! For burial, not even 2 yards of land were granted in the beloved city." And so, a 300-year-old empire became a silent throne, a broken crown, and dust-covered palaces.
But the question lives on. Do empires truly end? Or do they live on in their architecture, their language, their culture, and the pages of history? The Mughal Empire fell, but its legacy still breathes in our cities, our monuments, and our history. Rise and decline, this is the law of time.